Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Wylam here, and today's Fuji Friday. Don't really have too much news to cover, but there are a couple of things that I do want to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. The first topic that I do want to talk about is the Fujifilm X-Pro2 has a new firmware update. This is a minor firmware update in which it's only fixing some bugs. Again, Fuji doesn't really actually tell us what bugs they're fixing. They're just telling us they're fixing bugs. This is a minor firmware update. It is good news that we're still getting firmware updates with some of these older bodies. So hopefully they'll continue that trend and we'll see other firmware updates for other camera bodies, hopefully with new features. But that's really all there is to report for this particular news. Now that's really all of the Fuji news that I have this week. So I do want to dive into a couple of topics that's a little bit off, but it is Fuji related because of what the other camera manufacturers are doing. And specifically what I'm talking about is the Nikon Z6. So right now on B&H, they're offering an incredible deal. So you're getting a Nikon Z6 with a 24-70. It is a refurbished model, but to be honest with you, I've never really worried about buying refurbished stuff. I buy used stuff all the time. They come with warranties. All you have to do is just use it, make sure everything works. And 99.9% of the time, it's a perfectly good working model and you're getting a really good deal. And the reason why I'm bringing this up on Fuji Fridays is because this price point is really competing well with the X-T3 and another kit lens, because you're about to pay about the same price, except now you're getting a Nikon camera and you're getting a full frame sensor and their technology. Now, I'm not going to be switching over just because of this price point, but I will say though, if this had come out a year and a half ago and there's really no technology inside the Z6 that didn't already exist about a year and a half ago, I probably would not have switched over to Fujifilm, because this camera would be capable of doing exactly what I want to do in terms of the hybrid nature of being able to take photos, but also be able to create content for me for video, for YouTube purposes. Now, I don't like everything about it. I'm not going to tell you that this is actually a great camera, because there are definitely some quirks. I have tested the Z7. I have videos up on the YouTube channel. I also tested the Z6, but they're so similar in nature that I didn't bother creating additional videos because they're essentially the same thing. But I will say it is a very capable camera. It just has some quirks that I didn't really like, and there was no real reason for me to actually switch back to Nikon because the Fuji system has worked so well and I have all of the lenses that I kind of need right now. It just doesn't offer enough capabilities for me to want to switch back to Nikon, and I don't see that for the foreseeable future. But for anybody who's just jumping into a system and wants to be able to do video and photos, at this price point, it is very competitive with an X-T3, and you really have to weigh whether or not you go with, Fuji, Nikon, or Sony, because right now, what we're seeing is that a lot of full frame cameras are really dropping down in price. And once you drop below $2,000, you're kind of sitting at the point where the X-T3 is. And all of a sudden, that becomes a very crowded area. So if price becomes very similar, all of a sudden the X-T3 is starting to lose some of its advantage. It's still probably overall a better camera, the X-T3. That's just my thoughts on it, but it's been very interesting to see how low the Z6 is actually selling at this point. So that's just my quick thoughts on it, because I do keep track of all the other camera systems just to see what they're doing compared to Fujifilm's. Now, the last topic that I do want to talk about is also about a new camera body, except this one's going to be from Sigma. So Sigma has announced that it's going to be launching another new camera body, the FP, which is a little bit of a strange name. And this looks to be a very small, capable camera that's also going to be able to do video, except this is also going to have a full frame sensor. Everybody already knows that Sigma makes a wide range of glass, and a lot of them are pretty nice, especially their art line. Everybody really knows that line at this point. So it's not like they're going to be hurting for glass if they come out with a camera body. This seems to be a very capable camera, and again, depending on the price point, this really could take away sales from the XT line from Fujifilm's, because if it's priced in between, say, a Z6 and an XT3, so sub 2,000 but somewhere around $1,500. Now, I'm only doing some speculation here because we don't really know the price point is. Depending on the price range of this camera body, if it's below $2,000, so below a Z6 but somewhere around an X-T3, then all of a sudden that market is going to be super crowded and it's going to be very competitive, and a lot of people might be attracted to this camera over, say, a crop sensor camera like an X-T3. So we could potentially see a Blackmagic Pocket 4K with a better autofocus system, which is something that people are looking for. If that does happen, it's really going to shake things up. If it is priced above $2,000, then it's really a more competitor for the Sony a7S II or a7S III whenever that comes out, but it's more geared towards the professional market, which this could be because the video specs on it is very capable, but we don't really know enough about it. But just based on the specs alone, it does look like a very high-end camera. Now, of course, as a consumer, I do want this to be at the lower end range because this will definitely push camera manufacturers to put better specs and better features into their cameras, especially Fujifilms, if they're going to be priced around that range. But as we all know, Sigma has been trying to break into the market of creating camera bodies, but they really haven't been very successful at it. It'll be very interesting to see if this one's going to be a successful one and whether or not photographers and cinematographers really want to try this camera out. But I am definitely interested, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on this camera body. Anyhow, that's all I have this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.